62. In that year, being the 79th year of the Israelites, going down to Egypt, died Reuben the son of Jacob in the land of Egypt. Reuben was 125 years old when he died, and they put him into a coffin, and he was given into the hands of his children. And in the 80th year died his brother Dan. He was 120 years at his death, and he was also put into a coffin and given into the hands of his children. And in that year died Jasher, king of Edom, and after him reigned Hadad the son of Bedad for 35 years, and in the 81st year died Issachar the son of Jacob in Egypt, and Issachar was 122 years old at his death, and he was put into a coffin in Egypt and given into the hands of his children. And in the 82nd year died Jasher, his brother. He was 123 years old at his death, and he was placed in a coffin in Egypt and given into the hands of his children. And in the 83rd year died God. He was 125 years old at his death, and he was put into a coffin in Egypt and given into the hands of his children. And it came to pass in the 84th year, that is the 50th year of the reign of Hadad, son of Bedad, king of Edom, that Hadad assembled all the children of Esau, and he got his whole army in readiness, about 400,000 men, and he directed his way to the land of Moab, and he went to fight with Moab, and to make them tributary to him. And the children of Moab heard this thing, and they were very much afraid. And they sent to the children of Midian to assist them in fighting with Hadad, son of Bedad, king of Edom. And Hadad came unto the land of Moab, and Moab and the children of Midian went out to meet him, and they placed themselves in battle array against him in the field of Moab. And Hadad fought with Moab, and there fell on the children of Moab, the children of Midian, many slain ones, about 200,000 men. And the battle was very severe upon Moab. And when the children of Moab saw that the battle was sore upon them, they weakened their hands and turned their backs, and left the children of Midian to carry on the battle. And the children of Midian knew not the intentions of Moab, but they strengthened themselves in battle, and fought with Hadad and all his host, and all Midian fell before him. And Hadad smote all Midian with a heavy smiting, and he slew them with the edge of the sword. He left none remaining of those who came to assist Moab. And when all the children of Midian had perished in battle, and the children of Moab had escaped, Hadad made all Moab that tributary to him, and they became under his hand, and they gave a yearly tax as it was ordered, and Hadad turned and went back to his land. And at the revolution of the year, when the rest of the people of Midian that were in the land heard that all their brethren had fallen in battle with Hadad for the sake of Moab, because the children of Moab had turned their backs in battle and left Midian to fight, then 5 of the princes of Midian resolved with the rest of their brethren who remained in their land to fight with Moab to avenge the cause of their brethren. And the children of Midian sent to all their brethren, the children of the east, and all their brethren, all the children of Keturah, came to assist Midian to fight with Moab. And the children of Moab heard this thing, and they were greatly afraid that all the children of the east had assembled together against them for battle. And they, the children of Moab, sent a memorial to the land of Edom, to Hadad, the son of Bedad, saying, Come now unto us and assist us, and we will smite Midian. For they all assembled together and now come against us with all their brethren, the children of the east, to battle, to avenge the cause of Midian that fell in battle. And Hadad, son of Bedad, king of Edom, went forth with his whole army, and went to the land of Moab to fight with Midian. And Midian and the children of the east fought with Moab in the field of Moab, and the battle was very fierce between them. And Hadad smote all the children of Midian, and the children of the east with the edge of the sword. And Hadad at the time delivered Moab from the hand of Midian, and those that remained of Midian and of the children of the east fled before Hadad and his army. And Hadad burst out into the land and smote them with a very heavy slaughter, and the slain fell in the road. And Hadad delivered Moab from the hand of Midian, for all the children of Midian had fallen by the edge of the sword. And Hadad turned and went back to his land. And from that day forth, the children of Midian hated the children of Moab, because they had fallen in battle for their sake. And there was a great and mighty enmity between them all the days. And all that were found of Midian in the road of the land of Moab perished by the sword of Moab. And all that were found of Moab in the road of the land of Midian perished by the sword of Midian. Thus did Midian unto Moab, and Moab unto Midian for many days. And it came to pass at that time that Judah the son of Jacob died in Egypt in the 86th year of Jacob's going down to Egypt. And Judah was 129 years old at his death. And they embalmed him and put him into a coffin, and he was given into the hands of his children. And in the 89th year died Naphtali. He was 132 years old, and he was put into a coffin and given into the hands of his children. And it came to pass in the 91st year of the Israelites going down to Egypt, that is in the 30th year of the reign of Zebul, the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, over the children of Judah. The children of Africa came upon the children of Judah to plunder them as usual, but they had not come upon them for these 13 years. And they came to them in the year, and Zebul the son of Eliphaz went out to them with some of his men and smote them desperately. And the troops of Africa fled from before Zebul, and the slain fell before him. And Zebul and his men pursued them, going on and smiting them until they were near unto Africa. Then Antiochus, king of Africa, heard the thing which Zebul had done, and it vexed him exceedingly. And Antiochus was afraid of Zebul all the days. 63. And in the 93rd year died Levi, the son of Jacob, in Egypt. And Levi was 137 years old when he died. And they put him into a coffin, and he was given into the hands of his children. And it came to pass after the death of Levi, when all Egypt saw that the sons of Jacob, the brethren of Joseph, were dead, all the Egyptians began to afflict the children of Jacob, and to embitter their lives from that day unto the day of their going forth from Egypt. And they took from their hands all the vineyards and fields which Joseph had given unto them, and all the illegal houses in which the people of Israel lived, and all the fat of Egypt the Egyptians took, all from the sons of Jacob in those days. And the hand of all Egypt became more grievous in those days against the children of Israel, and the Egyptians injured the Israelites, until the children of Israel wearied of their lives on account of the Egyptians. And it came to pass in those days In the 102nd year of Israel's going down to Egypt, that Pharaoh king of Egypt died, and with all his sons ride in his stead, and all the mighty men of Egypt, and all the generation which knew Joseph and his brethren died in those days. In number, another generation rose up in the stead, which had not known the sons of Jacob, and all the good which they had done to them, and all their might in Egypt. Therefore all Egypt began from that day forth to embitter the lives of the sons of Jacob, and to afflict them with all manner of hard labor, because they had not known their ancestors who had delivered them in the days of the famine. And this was also from the Lord for the children of Israel, to benefit them in their latter days, in order that all the children of Israel might know the Lord their God, and in order to know the signs and mighty wonders which the Lord would do in Egypt on account of his people Israel, in order that the children of Israel might fear the Lord God of their ancestors, and walk in all his ways, they and their seed after them all the days. Bilal was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 94 years, and all Egypt called his name Pharaoh, after the name of his father, as it was their custom to do, to every king or reign over them in Egypt. And at time all the troops of Achaeus, king of Africa, went forth to spread along the land of Judah, as usual for plunder. And Zepho, the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, heard the report, and he went forth to meet them with his army, and he fought them there in the road. And Zepho smote the troops of the king of Africa with the edge of the sword, and left none remaining of them, and not even one returned to his master in Africa. And Achaeus heard of this which Zepho the son of Eliphaz had done to all his troops, that he had destroyed them, and Achaeus assembled all his troops, all the men of the land of Africa, a people numerous like the sun by the seashore. And Achaeus said to Lucas his brother, saying, come to me with all thy men, help me to smite Zepho and all the children of Jacob who have destroyed my men. And Lucas came with his whole army, a very great force, to assist Achaeus his brother to fight with Zepho, the children of Jacob. And Zepho and the children of Jacob heard this thing, and they were greatly afraid. just King of Africa is coming to us with his brother for battle against us. Oh, we are greatly afraid of him, for his army is very great, particularly as he comes against us with his brother and his army likewise. Now therefore come you also up with me and help me. We will fight together against Antiochus and his brother Lucas, and you will save us out of their hands. But if not, know ye that we shall all die. And the children of Esau sent a letter to the children of Judah and to say for their king, saying, we cannot fight against Antiochus and his people, for a covenant of peace has been between us this many years, from the days of Bela, the first king, and from the days of Joseph, the son of Jacob, king of Egypt, with whom we fought on the other side of Jordan when he buried his father. When Zepho heard the words of his brethren, the children of Esau, he refrained from them, and Zepho was greatly afraid of Antiochus. And when Zepho heard the words of his brethren, the children of Esau, and Antiochus and Lucas his brother arrayed all their forces, about 800,000 men, against the children of Judah. And all the children of Judah said unto Zepho, pray for us to the God of the ancestors, peradventure he may deliver us from the hand of Antiochus and his army. For we have heard that he is a great God, and that he delivers all who trust in him. And Zepho heard their words, and Zepho sought the Lord, and he said, O Lord God of Abraham and Isaac, my ancestors, this day I know that thou art a true God, and all the gods of the nations are vain and useless. Remember now this day unto me thy covenant with Abraham our father, which our ancestors related unto us, and do graciously with me this day, for the sake of Abraham and Isaac our fathers, and save me and the children of Judah from the hand of the king of Africa, who comes against us for battle. And the Lord hearkened to the voice of Zepho, and he had regard for him on account of Abraham and Isaac. And the Lord delivered Zepho and the children of Judah from the hand of Antiochus and his people. And Zepho fought Antiochus, king of Africa, and all his people on that day. And the Lord gave all the people of Antiochus into the hands of the children of Judah. And the battle was severe upon Antiochus, and Zepho smote all the men of Antiochus and Lucas his brother with the edge of the sword, and there fell from them until the evening of the day about 400,000 men. And when Antiochus saw that all his men perished, he sent a letter to all the inhabitants of Africa to come to him to assist him in the battle. And he wrote in a letter, saying, all who are found in Africa, let them come unto me from 10 years old and upward, Let them all come unto me, and behold, if he comes not, he shall die. And all that he has, with his whole household, the king will take. And all the rest of the inhabitants of Africa were terrified at the words of angels. And there went out of the city about 300,000 men and boys from 10 years upward. And they came to Antioch. And at the end of 10 days, Antioch renewed the battle against the foe and the children of Judah. And the battle was very great and strong between them. And from the army of Archelaus and Lucas, Zepho sent many of the wounded unto his hand, about 2,000 men. And so Zepho, the captain of the host of Antioch, fell in that battle. And when Zepho had fallen, the African troops turned their backs to flee, and they fled, and Antiochus and Lucas his brother were with him. And Zepho and the children of Chittim pursued them, and they smote them still heavily on the road, about 200 men. And they pursued Asdrubal, the son of Antiochus, who had fled with his father. And they smote 20 of his men in the road. And Asdrubal escaped from the children of Chittim, and they did not slay him. And Antiochus and Lucas his brother fled with the rest of their men, and they escaped and came into Africa with terror and consternation. And Antiochus feared all the days lest Zepho, the son of Eliphaz, should go to war with him. 64. And Balaam, the son of Beor, was at the time with Antiochus in the battle. And when he saw that Zepho prevailed over Antiochus, he fled from there and came to Shittim. And Zepho and the children of Shittim received him with great honor, for Zepho knew Balaam's wisdom. And Zepho gave unto Balaam many gifts, and he remained with him. And when Zepho had returned from the war, he considered not that the Lord had helped him in battle, and that he had delivered him and his people from the hand of the king of Africa, but still walked in the ways of the children of Chittim, and the wicked children of Esau, to serve other gods, which his brethren, the children of Esau, had taught him. It is therefore said, from the wicked goes forth wickedness, and sinful reign over all the children of Chittim securely. But knew not that the Lord who had delivered him and all his people from the hand of the king of Africa, and the troops of Africa came no more to Chittim to plunder as usual, for they knew of the power of Zepho, who had smitten them all at the edge of the sword. So I just was afraid of Zepho, the son of Eliphaz, and of the children of Chittim. All the days. At a time when Zepho had returned from the war, and when Zepho had seen how he prevailed over all the people of Africa and smitten them in battle at the edge of the sword, then Zepho advised with the children of Chittim to go to Egypt to fight with the sons of Jacob, and with Pharaoh, king of Egypt. For Zepho heard that the mighty men of Egypt were dead, and that Joseph and his brethren, the sons of Jacob, were dead, and that all their children, the children of Israel, remained in Egypt. And Zepho considered to go to fight against them and all Egypt, to avenge the cause of his brethren, the children of Esau, whom Joseph, with his brethren, and all Egypt had smitten in the land of Canaan, when they went up to bury Jacob in Hebron. And Zepho sent messengers to Hadad, son of Bedad, king of Edom, and to all his brethren, the children of Esau, saying, Did you not say that you would not fight against the king of Africa? For he is a member of your covenant. Behold, about him and all his people. Now therefore I have resolved to fight against Egypt and the children of Jacob who are there, and I will be revenge of them for what Joseph, his brethren and ancestors did to us in the land of Canaan, when they went up to bury their father in Hebron. Now then, if you are willing to come to me to assist me in fighting against them and Egypt, then shall we avenge the cause of our brethren and the children of Esau. Hearken to the words of Zepho, and the children of Esau gathered themselves together, a very great people, and they went to assist Zepho and the children of Judah in battle. And Zepho said to all the children of the east and to all the children of Ishmael with words like unto these, and they gathered themselves and came to the assistance of Zepho and the children of Judah in the war upon Egypt. And all these kings, the king of Edom, and the children of the east, and all the children of Ishmael, and Zepho the king of Judah went forth in array, all their hosts in Hebron. And the cup was very heavy, extending in length a distance of 3 days' journey. A people numerous is the sun upon the seashore, which cannot be counted. And all these kings and their hosts went down and came against all Egypt in battle, and they come together in the valley of Patros. And all Egypt heard the report, and they also gathered themselves together, all the people of the land of Egypt, and of all the cities belonging to Egypt, about 300,000 men. And the men of Egypt sent also to the children of Israel, who were in those days in the land of Goshen, to come to them in order to go and fight with his kings. And the men of Israel assembled and were about 150 men, and they went into battle to assist the Egyptians. And the men of Israel out of Egypt went forth Egyptians believed not in Israel to go with them in their council together for battle. For all the Egyptians said, perhaps the children of Israel will deliver us into the hand of the children of Esau and Ishmael, for they are their brethren. And all the Egyptians said unto the children of Israel, remain you here together in your stand, and we will go fight against the children of Esau and Ishmael. And if these kings shall prevail over us, then call you all together upon them and assist us. And the children of Israel did so. And Shaphat the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, king of Shittim, and Hadad the son of Bedad, king of Edom, and all their camps, and all the children of the east, and the children of Ishmael, a people of mirrors and sending camp together in the valley of Patros, opposite dead branches. And Balaam the son of Beor, the Syrian, was there in the camp of Zebul, for he came with the children of Judah to the battle. And Balaam was a man highly honored in the eyes of Zebul and his men. And Zebul said unto Balaam, try by divination for us, that we may know who will prevail in the battle, we or the Egyptians. And Balaam rose up and tried the art of divination, and he was skillful in the knowledge of it, but he was confused, and the work was destroyed in his hand. And he tried it again, but it did not succeed. Balaam despaired of it, and left it, and did not complete it. For this was from the Lord, in order to cause Zebul and his people to fall into the hand of the children of Israel, who had trusted in the Lord, the God of their ancestors, in their war. And Zebul and Hadad put their forces in battle array, and all the Egyptians went alone against them, about 300,000 men, and not one man of Israel was with them. And all the Egyptians fought with his kings, opposite Patros and that branches, and the battle was severe against the Egyptians. And the kings were stronger than the Egyptians in the battle, and about 180 men of Egypt fell on that day, and about 30 men of the forces of the kings And all the men of Egypt fled from before the kings. So the children of Israel and Ishmael pursued the Egyptians, continuing to smite them unto the place where was the camp of the children of Israel. And all the Egyptians cried unto the children of Israel, saying, Hasten to us, and assist us, and save us from the hand of Esau, Ishmael, and the children of Judah. And 150 men of the children of Israel ran from their station to the camps of these kings. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord their God to deliver them. And the Lord hearkened to Israel, and the Lord gave all the men of the kings into their hand. And the children of Israel fought against these kings. And the children of Israel smote about 4,000 of the king's men. And the Lord threw a great consternation in the camp of the kings, so that the fear of the children of Israel fell upon them. And all the hosts of the kings fled from before the children of Israel. And the children of Israel pursued them, continuing to smite them unto the borders of the land of Cush. And the children of Israel slew of them in the road, yet 2,000 men. And of the children of Israel not one fell. And when the Egyptians saw that the children of Israel had fought with such few men with the kings, and that the battle was so very severe against them, all the Egyptians were greatly afraid of their lives on account of the strong battle. And all Egypt fled, every man hiding himself from the arrayed forces, and they hid themselves in the road, and they left the Israelites to fight. And the children of Israel inflicted a terrible blow upon the king's men, and they returned from them after they had driven them to the border of the land of Cush. And all Israel knew the thing which the men of Egypt had done to them, that they had fled from them in battle, and had left them to fight alone. So the children of Israel also acted with cunning. And as the children of Israel returned from battle, they found some of the Egyptians in the road, and smote them there. And whilst they slew them, they said unto them these words, Wherefore did you go from us and leave us, being a few people, to fight against these kings, who had a great people to smite us, that you might thereby deliver your own souls? And also which the Israelites met on the road, they, the children of Israel, spoke to each other, saying, Smite, smite, for he is an Ishmaelite, or an Edomite, or from the children of Judah. And they stood over him and slew him, and they knew that he was an Egyptian. And the children of Israel did these things callingly against the Egyptians, because they had deserted them in battle and had fled from them. And the children of Israel slew of the men of Egypt in the road in this manner, about 200 men. And all the men of Egypt saw the evil which the children of Israel had done to them. So all Egypt feared greatly the children of Israel, for they had seen their great power, and that not one of man of them had fallen. So all the children of Israel returned with joy on the road to Goshen, and the rest of Egypt returned, each one to his place. 65. And it came to pass after these things that all the counselors of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and all the elders of Egypt assembled and came before the king, and bowed down to the ground, and they sat before him. And the counselors and elders of Egypt spoke unto the king, saying, Behold, the people of the children of Israel is greater and mightier than we are. And thou knowest all the evil which they did to us in the road when we returned from battle. And thou hast also seen their strong power, for this power is unto them from their fathers. For but a few men stood up against the people, no be rose as the sun, and smote them at the edge of the sword, and of themselves no one has fallen, so that if they had been numerous, they would then have utterly destroyed them. Now therefore give us counsel what to do with them, until we gradually destroy them from amongst us, lest they become too numerous for us in the land. For if the children of Israel should increase in the land, they will become an obstacle to us. And if any war should happen to take place, they with their great strength will join our enemy against us and fight against us, destroy us from the land, and go away from it. So the king answered the elders of Egypt and said unto them, This is the plan that fights against Israel, from which they will not depart. Behold, in the land are with our provinces, cities unfortified against battle. It behooves you and us to build them and to fortify them. Now therefore go you also in accordingly toward them, and proclaim a voice in Egypt and in Goshen at the command of the king, saying, All ye men of Egypt, Goshen, Patros, and all their inhabitants, the king has commanded us to build with Tom and Ramesses and to fortify them for battle. Who amongst you of all Egypt, of the children of Israel, and of all the inhabitants of the cities, are willing to build with us? Shall each have his wages given to him daily at the king's order? So go you first and do cunningly, and gather yourselves and come to Pithom and Ramesses to build. And whilst you are building, cause a proclamation of this kind to be made throughout Egypt every day at the command of the king. And when some of the children of Israel shall come to build with you, you shall give them their wages daily for a few days. And after they shall have built with you for their daily hire, drag yourselves away from them daily one by one in secret, and then you shall rise up and become their taskmasters and officers, and you shall leave them afterward to build without wages. And should they refuse, then force them with all your might to build. And if you do this, it will be well with us to strengthen our land against the children of Israel. For on account of the fatigue of the building and the work, the children of Israel will decrease, because you will deprive them from their wives day by day. And all of the elders of Egypt heard the counsel of the king, and and the counsel seemed good in their eyes, and in the eyes of the servants. That is home? Yes, it's time. You go check. You guys stay in living room. It's gonna be here. And the servants of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all Egypt, and they did according to the word of the king. And all the servants went away from the king, and they caused a proclamation to be made in all Egypt, in Tachpanches and in Goshen, and in all the cities which surrounded Egypt, saying, You have seen what the children of Esau and Ishmael did to us, who came to war against us and wished to destroy us. Now therefore the king commanded us to fortify the land, to build the cities with Om and Ramesses, and to fortify them for battle, if they should again come against us. Whosoever of you from all Egypt and from the children of Israel will come to build with us, he shall have his daily wages given by the king, as his command is unto us. And when Egypt and all the children of Israel heard all that the servants of Pharaoh had spoken, there came from the Egyptians and the children of Israel to build with the servants of Pharaoh. Pithom and Ramesses, but none of the children of Levi came with their brethren to build. And all the servants of Pharaoh and his princes came at first with the seed to build with all Israel's daily hired laborers. And they gave to Israel their daily hire at the beginning. And the servants of Pharaoh built with all Israel, and were employed in that work with Israel for a month. And at the end of the month, all the servants of secretly from the people of Israel daily. And Israel went on with the work at that time, but they didn't receive their daily hire, because some of the men of Egypt were yet carrying on the work with Israel at the time. Therefore the Egyptians gave Israel their hire in those days, in order that they, the Egyptians, their fellow workmen, might also take the pay of their labor. And at the end of a year, and 4 months, all the Egyptians are withdrawn from the children of Israel, so that the children of Israel were left alone engaged in the work. And after all the Egyptians had withdrawn from the children of Israel, they returned and became oppressors and officers over them. And some of them stood over the children of Israel as taskmasters, to receive from them all that they gave them for the pay of their labor. And the Egyptians did in this manner to the children of Israel day by day, in order to afflict in their work. And all the children of Israel were alone engaged in the labor, and the Egyptians were afraid from giving any pay to the children of Israel from that time forward. And when some of the men of Israel refused to work on account of the wages not being given to them, then the exactors and the servants of Pharaoh oppressed them and smote them with heavy blows, and made them return by force to labor with their brethren. Thus did all the Egyptians unto the children of Israel all the days. And all the children of Israel were greatly afraid of the Egyptians in this matter. And all the children of Israel returned and worked alone without pay. And the children of Israel built Pithom and Ramesses. And all the children of Israel did the work, some making bricks, some building. And the children of Israel built and fortified all the land of Egypt on its walls. And the children of Israel were engaged in work for many years, until the time came when the Lord remembered them and brought them out of Egypt. But the children of Levi were not employed in the work with the brethren of Israel, from the beginning unto the day of their going forth from Egypt. For all the children of Levi knew that the Egyptians had spoken all these words with deceit to the Israelites. Therefore the children of Levi refrained from approaching to the work with their brethren. And the Egyptians did not direct their attention to make the children of Levi work afterward, since they had not been with their brethren at the beginning. Therefore the Egyptians left them alone, and the hands of the men of Egypt were distracted, directed with continued severity against the children of Israel in that work, and the Egyptians made the children of Israel work with rigor, and the Egyptians embittered the lives of the children of Israel with hard work in mortar and bricks, and also in all manner of work in the field. And the children of Israel called Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, because in his days the Egyptians had embittered their lives with all manner of work, and all the work wherein the Egyptians made the children of Israel labor. They exacted with rigor in order to afflict the children of Israel. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew, and the Egyptians were grieved because of the children of Israel.